The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. And Jesus tells us that if we want anything to last, anything in our lives to last, step one is the foundation. Right? Jess and I have been house hunting for, I think, like 7 months or 9 months, as long as we've been up here. And we just found a house, so we're excited. We're buying a house, we're moving in. But some of the houses that we've looked at, I mean, I remember one house in particular. We went up to it, and when we drove up, I just fell in love with this house. It had a massive, massive willow tree in the front yard. It just kind of reminded me of this tree growing up on the street I grew up on. And I was like, man, this house is gorgeous. I just love this tree. It's just huge and gorgeous. And you look at the house, I mean, it's got everything we want. The amount of rooms, the amount of space. It's got a yard that I don't like to mow, but I'll deal with it for this willow tree. But then you walk in, and it's just something seems a little off, right? And we walked in, and as you begin to look around, there was, on the dead center of the house, on the ceiling, was a crack that would run all the way down the wall. And the entire west wing of this house was sunk a little bit. I mean, if you put a marble on the floor, it would have rolled, all the way down into the house. And I just can't help but remember how bummed I was. I was like, man, I love this house. But when they started to tell me all the work that it was going to take to really get this house to where it needed to be, I was just, there's no way. Right? I mean, they said we're going to have to dig under this house and jack it up from underneath and then pour cement to fix this foundation. I was like, well, what happens if we just paint the crack? Right? Can we just paint the crack and just hope it doesn't get worse? Right? And it kind of hit me. I was like, the foundation of that house is, no matter how gorgeous a house, no matter how much time and energy was put into this house, because the foundation was not what it needed to be, the entire structure, everything the house is made to be is falling apart. And I just can't help it, we do that in our lives at times. We start building our lives, and we get to a point where we realize, oh man, I didn't start out the way I needed to. But I have so much stuff. I have the family going on. I have friends. I have all these relationships, my job, my business, my bank account, all these things I have. But it's all starting to crumble. And I can't help but know that the words of Jesus say that your foundation is where it all started. It's falling apart because your foundation is not what it needs to be. And so in our lives, what do? We try so hard to just kind of throw some paint on it. Right? We start asking those questions, why God? All the why God questions. And when he says your foundation isn't what it needs to be, we're like, maybe I can just patch it. And Jesus said, no, you have to replace the foundation. You have to do a little work. You got to dig under it. You got to jack it up, and you got to pour this foundation of Jesus Christ. And it may get messy. It may be hard at times, but in the end, it's what matters most, because that structure that you built on that foundation will last, and it'll do the things that it's supposed to do. And when we have the foundation ready, when the entire structure is finally stable in life, there's a second step to leaving a legacy and to leave boldly. And I can't help but, anyone have a backseat driver as a significant other? I'll take an ear scratch if that's what you got, so you don't get in trouble. I got a double ear scratch in the back. It's one of those. There's a navigator, right? And then there's a backseat driver. The navigator is someone that I love having a navigator, and Jess does a great job of being a navigator. When I drive, she'll tell me, where I need to turn, what roads I'm looking for, what I'm expecting up ahead. And this was always my job with my mom, because my mom didn't see real well. And so it's kind of my job to kind of look for the signs and say, this is where we're going to turn. I'm looking for signs, because we always get lost. And if you know me by now, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I get lost all the time. Ask someone else. But I'm always lost. And so me and my mom were always lost because I was a navigator. And but it's just the job of the navigator is to keep you from getting lost. Now, a backseat driver is not so much telling you where to go, but how to go. Right? It's like you're not helping me get where I'm going. I remember when I was a youth pastor at my last job, we took the kids roller skating once a month. And there was the one, I call her anti-trip girl. She was the girl you just didn't want to take any trips longer than like 1 block with, right? And 'cause I don't know if I'm just getting older or whatever, but there's certain things that just bug me on a road trip. Anytime you wear headphones in the presence of other people, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older, but that just kind of bugs me. But she would sing then with her headphones on, and loud, right? I'm loud. And I would have the radio on. It's like, I'm not going to make them sit in silence. You know what I mean? I have my radio on cranked, and I got decent music. And then here, she's just singing something completely different over top of everyone else who's trying to just enjoy the trip. And on top of that, she would sit in the very front seat, in the very middle, and lean forward, and just sing in my ear and tell me how bad my driving was. All the time. And it's at that moment, like, and I dealt with it for a while, and it's at that moment that I said something that I swear I never would have said. Sit back in your seat. Is your seatbelt on? Right? I felt like I was a parent, I felt like my mom at that point. And it was at that moment that I realized my parents didn't make me wear my seatbelt for my safety, but for their sanity. It's the telling of how to go. The navigator or this backseat driver, which sometimes you just want to sit back, put your seatbelt on. There's an awesome video that if Matt would play it, and we're just praying that it works. If not, I'll try to stop or something.
Jesus, I have decided to give you this.
Really?
Yeah.
You know whoever sits here makes all the decisions, right?
I know, and I'm always making decisions, but you make the perfect decisions. So you just sit right down and start making them.
Wow, I'm honored. I mean, this feels great.